I want to start today with something that happens to literally everyone at work and that almost nobody wants to talk about.
Ooh, okay, now I'm curious.
Okay, so you know that moment in a meeting where someone's talking and your brain just quietly walks out of the room,
Oh, I know that moment. I know it very, very well.
right? Right. So today on the English Mastery podcast, we're talking about exactly that slang for daydreaming at work. And not just a slang, but how to use it so you don't accidentally sound like you've completely given up on your job.
I love this topic because it's so real. Like it happens to everyone. And as English learners, having the right words to describe it, especially in a professional setting, that's actually really valuable.
Totally. And welcome back, everyone, to the English Mastery Podcast. I'm Dennis.
And I'm Emily, and today we're going deep on this one. Phrases, vocabulary, how to recover, when to use what, all of it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Let's jump in. All right. So, Emily, let's start with the basics. Why does it even matter which slang you use? Like, isn't daydreaming just daydreaming?
Yeah, okay, so and this is actually a really important point. Not all slang is equal, right? Some phrases make you sound human and relatable. Others can make you sound like you just don't care. And at work, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's a kind of a spectrum here.
Exactly. On the safe end, the professional end, you've got phrases that frame daydreaming as a momentary thing. Like it happened, it was brief, and you're back. That's the vibe you want?
Okay, so like, give me an example. What's a phrase that lands well?
So, the classic one, and you hear this all the time, is my mind wandered. Super polite, super normal, nobody's gonna judge you for that.
Yeah, and wandered is such a great word for this because it's gentle, right? Like your mind didn't crash, it just wandered off a little.
Right, it wandered. And the word wander, let's break that down. It means to move or drift away from the main focus, and it's used all the time. Like your attention wandered when the meeting went off topic. Super natural.
Love it. What else is in the safe zone?
Okay, so you've also got I zoned out. That one is very, very common. A little more casual than my mind wandered, but still totally fine in most workplaces. And then there's I spaced out for a sec, which is like the same idea, but maybe a bit more, I don't know, a bit more relaxed, more like something you'd say to a colleague you're friendly with.
Right, and zone out is interesting because it's one of those phrasal verbs that really paints a picture, you know? Like you're in a zone and then you're out of it.
Exactly. And the phrasal verb zone out, it just means to stop paying attention for a short time. And it can happen to anyone. Like, I zoned out for a minute and missed the last slide. That's a real sentence I have said in real life.
I'm sure it was just a 1 minute.
Just the one, maybe two.
Okay, so we've got my mind wandered, zoned out, spaced out. Any others in the safe zone?
Yeah, so there's I was on autopilot, which is a really interesting one because it's a little different. Autopilot is when you're doing something automatically without really thinking, like answering emails or sitting in a meeting and nodding while your brain is somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, the autopilot nod is real, very real.
Very real. And then there's I drifted for a moment, which is maybe just slightly more formal, like if you're in a work context where you want to be a little more polished. I drifted works nicely.
Right, and drift, the verb, means to slowly move away from a topic or focus. So you can drift in a conversation, you can drift in your attention. It's a pretty versatile word.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those words that sounds kind of poetic, like I drifted for a moment, but I'm back now. It almost sounds intentional, like I chose to drift.
Very zen of you.
Very zen.
Okay, so here's what I find really interesting about this whole topic. It's not just about admitting you zoned out, it's about what you do next, right?
Yes, this is the key thing. This is where it really matters because the phrase alone doesn't save you. It's the recovery line that makes the difference.
Okay, so what is a recovery line exactly? Like, walk me through that.
So, a recovery line is just a quick follow up that shows you're back in the game, right? You're engaged, you respect the person's time, and you want to get back on track. So, instead of just going, oh, sorry, I zoned out, and leaving it there, which is a little awkward, you add something like, can you repeat the last point?
Right. And the word repeat there is super important for English learners to know. It just means to say something again. And it's completely normal to ask someone to repeat something. It's not rude.
Not rude at all. Actually, asking for clarification, which is another key word, shows that you care about understanding. Clarify means to make something easier to understand. Like, can you clarify what you mean by final approval? That's a confident, professional thing to say.
So you're turning the zoning out moment into like a moment of engagement.
Exactly, exactly. Like you recover, and recover means to return to a good state after a problem. You recover quickly and you ask a smart follow up question. A follow up is an extra question or action after something happens. Like I asked a follow up to confirm the deadline.
I love that framing. So the full move is acknowledge it briefly, then immediately show you're back and on top of things.
That's it. That's the whole move. Something like, sorry, I spaced out for a second. Can you repeat that? It's honest, it's human, and it shows respect. Nobody's going to hold that against you.
Let me give people a really concrete example of this. So imagine you're on a Zoom call, because at this point, who isn't? And your manager asks you a question, and you realize you totally missed the last like 20 seconds. You were gone. Maybe you were looking at a bird outside the window, maybe you were thinking about lunch. It doesn't matter.
We've all been that person.
All of us. So instead of just sitting there looking panicked, you say, "Sorry, I spaced out for a second. Can you repeat that?" That's it. Clean, simple, human, and you move on.
And the recovery line, can you repeat that? It does so much work there. It shows you're not just brushing it off, you know? You actually want to hear what they said.
Totally. And the word repeat is one of those really practical vocabulary words that learners should have just ready to go, like it's in your back pocket.
Absolutely, along with clarify and follow up. Those three together are like a little toolkit for handling these moments professionally.
Okay, so let's talk about the danger zone because there are some phrases that can really go wrong.
Oh, yeah, there are definitely some things you want to avoid.
All right, so what's the worst offender?
Okay, so probably the worst one is I was checked out because that's not just saying you zoned out for a moment. That phrase kind of implies a pattern, like you weren't present, you weren't invested. It can sound like you just don't care about the job.
Right. There's a permanence to checked out, isn't there? Like I checked out is almost like I quit mentally, whereas I zoned out is just like brief moment.
Exactly, exactly. It's the difference between a temporary thing and a character statement. And then there's the most honest option, which is I wasn't listening, which, technically accurate.
Old choice.
Very bold. It's honest. I respect the honesty, but in a professional setting, that level of directness can actually backfire. Like, there's honesty, and then there's oversharing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we have phrases like my mind wandered because they're honest, but they're also kind. Like you're being truthful without making everyone uncomfortable.
Right. And that's a real skill in English, actually. Knowing how to be honest while still being tactful. That's something that comes up a lot in professional English, and it's not something textbooks always teach.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I really love about this topic. It's not just vocabulary. It's actually about reading the room, knowing your audience, knowing what level of casualness is appropriate.
Totally. Like, I spaced out works great with a friendly colleague. Might not be your best move in a presentation to the board of directors.
Probably not, no. All right, so let's get a little more personal here because I think this topic gets really interesting when you think about your own experience. Emily, when do you usually lose focus? Like what's your kryptonite in meetings?
Oh man. Okay, so and I think a lot of people will relate to this. Long meetings with no clear agenda. Like when someone calls a meeting and it's been going for 45 minutes and you still don't know what the actual point is,
The drift sets in.
the drift absolutely sets in. And you try, you're like, "Okay, I'll take notes." And then the notes just become doodles. And then you're somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, especially English learners, there's actually an extra layer to this, right? Because if English isn't your first language and the meeting is fast, or there are a lot of accents, or people are talking over each other, that cognitive load is that's exhausting, and your brain is going to wander just from the effort of processing everything.
That is such a real point, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. Like, staying focused in your second language takes so much more energy than doing it in your first. So, if you zone out in an English meeting, that doesn't mean you're not trying. It might just mean your brain is working really, really hard.
Exactly. And that's actually a good case for using those recovery lines, right? Because a recovery line shows that you're engaged even when your brain temporarily hit its limit.
Right, right. And asking a follow up question in English, like, can you clarify that last point? That's actually a demonstration of your English skills, even though it started with you zoning out.
Love that reframe. Okay, so what about strategies? Like, what actually helps you stay focused during a long meeting or a long call?
So for me, the best thing, and this might sound simple, but it actually works, is writing down one key word from the conversation. Just one. Like if someone says deadline, you write down deadline. And that word kind of anchors you back, you know?
That's a really good practical tip, and it also gives you something to connect back to if you need to ask a follow up question. Like you can say, going back to the deadline you mentioned, and it sounds like you were totally tracking.
Look at you giving good advice.
I have my moment.
And honestly, I think the bigger point here is that these small moments, how you handle a zoned out situation, they actually build trust. People don't remember the slip, they remember how you recovered. If you zone out and then smoothly ask a clarifying question, the whole thing just disappears.
Right. The recovery is the thing. And I think that's actually a leadership skill when you think about it. Because leaders aren't people who never make mistakes. They're people who respond to mistakes with confidence and grace.
Absolutely. And for English learners, practicing that recovery language, can you repeat that? Let me clarify. Sorry, I drifted for a moment. That's practicing confidence. That's practicing fluency in the moments that actually matter.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick run through of the key vocabulary from today because I think it's worth just having those words locked in.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so first one, daydream as a verb to think about pleasant or random things instead of what's happening right now. Classic. I started to daydream during the long presentation.
Then we've got wander, to move or drift away from the main focus. My attention wandered when the meeting went off topic.
Zone out, phrasal verb, to stop paying attention for a short time. I zoned out for a minute and missed the last slide.
Base out, also a phrasal verb, to become unfocused or distracted. Sorry, I spaced out for a second. Can you repeat that?
Autopilot, noun, a state of doing something automatically without thinking. I was on autopilot while answering emails this morning.
Drift, verb, to slowly move away from a topic or focus. I drifted for a moment, but I'm back now.
Recover, verb, to return to a good state after a mistake or problem. I recovered quickly by asking a clear follow up question.
Repeat, verb, to say something again. Could you repeat the last point more slowly?
Clarify, verb, to make something easier to understand. Can you clarify what you mean by final approval?
And follow up, noun, an extra question or action after something happens. I asked a follow up to confirm the deadline.
10 solid words. 10 words that you can use starting today. All right, so before we close out, we want to make sure you know where to find more of this stuff because if you're enjoying the English Mastery podcast, there's actually a ton more content waiting for you.
Yes, so head over to our YouTube channel. It's all about English mastery. And you'll find videos, tips, lessons, all designed to help you sound more natural in English, whether that's in meetings, in conversations, wherever.
And if you really want to level up, go to allaboutenglishmastery.com and sign up for the newsletter because we send out practical English tips, new articles, and resources right to your inbox. It's free, it's good, and it's the kind of stuff that actually helps.
And the article that this episode is based on, Slang for Daydreaming at Work, is up on the site too. It's got the vocabulary list, discussion questions, example sentences, great for reading practice or for going through with a tutor.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes. Check it out. Okay, so to wrap up, the big takeaway today is daydreaming happens to everyone, but in English, how you talk about it matters. Stick to phrases like my mind wandered, I zoned out for a sec, avoid things like I was checked out or I wasn't listening, and always follow it up with a recovery line.
Because the recovery is the thing. That's really what people remember.
Exactly. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode of the English Mastery Podcast. Emily, this was a great one.
It really was, and honestly, I did not zone out once.
There's a first time for everything.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.